Hi everyone, this is Anandita Paulus, and in today's video I wanted to talk about Reiki self-attunements. If you already know about Reiki energy medicine or any other form of energy medicine, then you probably might be aware that one of the distinct features of Reiki, which makes it very different from any other energy healing modality, is the ritual of passing an attunement. And an attunement is basically a process through which the Reiki master teacher transfers a vital surcharge of life force energy to the student or the recipient who is being trained for a certain level of Reiki. Usually Reiki is taught in 3 levels. Level 1, which is the beginner level. Level 2 is when you learn distance healing, and level 3 is the master teacher level. Now, in my own personal opinion, I really don't believe that anybody could be a Reiki master, because Reiki is life force energy. It is the energy that is everywhere. And so I don't believe it is possible for a human to ever be master of this energy. But for lack of a better term, and this is also the term that has commonly been used over the ages, I still continue to use the word Reiki master, even though I don't believe that anyone could ever master Reiki, so to speak. It doesn't matter how many different Reiki modalities you are trained in or how many years of experience one might have, but this energy is not something that one person could ever have a mastery over. It is universal life force energy. It is the energy that has created everything. Also, sometimes people are a little bit confused about a Reiki attunement versus a Reiki healing session. Sometimes I have people asking me questions which makes it very evident that they're not sure what is the difference between those two. An attunement is specifically meant for a Reiki student who is learning how to perform Reiki on themselves or on others. It is something very unique to the Reiki practice. I have not come across any other energy healing modality where a formal attunement process takes place. Of course, attunement always takes place, no matter what kind of modality you practice. There is always an attunement that happens, because what attunement literally means is getting in tune with something, synchronizing with something, or harmonizing with something, getting on the same vibe, so to speak. So certain modalities such as acupuncture, acupressure, massage therapy, the attunement happens, but not energetically, because these are very body-based modalities, these are very physical modalities. The attunement happens through daily practice. The more you practice, the more you get in tune with the theory of that particular form of healing modality. For massage, for instance, you need to practice it daily so that you get, I'm not really sure about the terms in massage therapy, but I'm sure there are specific ways of massaging and specific points you need to put pressure on and how much pressure to apply. So that kind of attunement to that specific modality of therapy comes with practice. On the other hand, because Reiki is a completely energy-based modality, even though first level of Reiki is about working in person, face-to-face with the person where you touch them, even then, primarily Reiki is an energy healing modality. And so the attunement happens energetically. It happens on the energy level. It does not happen through practice. You don't need years of practice in order to receive a Reiki attunement. The Reiki attunement is given to you during your training in the classroom or distantly. So the main difference between a Reiki attunement and a healing session is this, that in a healing session, the person comes with the intention of receiving the healing energy, maybe because they want to balance out certain issues in their bodies, or maybe just to feel more grounded, calm, relaxed, centered, just to feel a deeper sense of well-being, peace, relaxation. But the intention is not to start practicing Reiki. The intention is not to pass on the Reiki energy to anybody else. An attunement is specifically given to a person who is intending to start practicing Reiki, to pass on healing, or to teach others to become Reiki master teachers. So coming back to Reiki self-attunements, I often get asked if Reiki self-attunements are as effective as attunements done by a Reiki master teacher. And I believe the question comes from the fact that these days, when a lot of the trainings have become online, Reiki, of course, has also been online, and it is not something new which just happened because of the pandemic. In fact, Reiki has been taught online for quite some time now. And in fact, even I have been teaching my Reiki meditation, Abundance Revolution workshops online for years now, even before the pandemic. I think what changed with the pandemic is this, that people became more open to learning things online. With the online Reiki programs, I have seen that a lot of teachers started offering self-attunements. So a self-attunement is nothing but the student attuning themselves without the assistance of a Reiki master or a Reiki teacher. And it is usually done through a meditative process. So usually a recorded meditation is provided, and the student is asked to ground and center themselves and then go through the meditation process to self-attune themselves. Now, I personally have never done that before. I have personally always been doing the Reiki attunements myself distantly. And in fact, some people have even questioned if distant attunements are as effective as in-person attunements received from a Reiki master. And if you want to check that out, I have another video. You can check it right here, or the video is in the description below. In that video, I talk about whether Reiki distant attunements are as effective as in-person attunements or not. However, this video is about Reiki self-attunements and how effective they are versus an attunement that you receive from a Reiki master. Now, in my personal opinion, I have always been doing the Reiki attunements for my online students, whether they are through online webinars that I teach. I do those attunements distantly on the spot during the webinar. And if it is my Reiki Complete Healing home study program, then my students have the option to schedule an appointment based on their and my availability, and then during that scheduled time, I do the attunement distantly. And that has always been my personal preference, primarily because of two reasons. Not that I am against self-attunement, but one thing that I have seen is when students attune themselves, and I have experienced that myself, like sometimes I have had students in my workshops who are taking my workshop primarily to receive an attunement from a teacher because their previous training was online and they didn't receive an attunement from a person. They did a self-attunement, and so in some corner of their mind, they sort of doubted the process. They doubted whether it was done properly or not, since they were doing it themselves and they were beginners themselves. They were learning, they were students, and now they are doing the attunement on themselves, all by themselves. And now the question comes that, did I do it properly? Was that proper? Did I receive the attunement correctly? So people often start doubting the process and also doubting themselves, whether they did it properly or not. And I don't think, as far as the efficiency or the effectiveness of the attunement is concerned, I don't think there is a huge difference between a self-attunement and receiving from a master teacher. But one of the main differences that I have seen myself is this, that people have self-doubt when they don't receive it from another person. So because of that, I have always been doing the Reiki attunements myself, whether it is in person or distantly, but I always schedule a time to do the attunements. And secondly, I have also seen that a lot of the people who come to the Reiki workshops or who take a Reiki webinar or even sign up for a home study program, not all, but a lot of them don't have any prior meditation experience, any prior experience of grounding and centering themselves, or any prior experience of anything that helps them to center themselves and focus intentionally on a particular objective. And why that is important is because if you have learned Reiki, or if you know what Reiki or energy healing is all about, you would realize that intention and focus plays a big role in Reiki as well as in passing on of an attunement. And so if somebody is not habitually used to focusing in a certain manner, if they have never meditated before, if they don't have any other tools or techniques to ground and center themselves, and to be able to focus their thoughts and energies in a certain manner, then that also might be an hindrance to receiving a Reiki self-attunement through a meditative process. And that is another reason why I personally prefer to do the Reiki attunements for my students instead of suggesting that they do a self-attunement on themselves. Not because the self-attunement doesn't work or not because it is not effective enough, but because of these two reasons. Firstly, that the people might start doubting themselves because of their own lack of experience in the subject matter. And secondly is if they never had any previous experience of any kind of spiritual practices or any grounding and centering practices, then they might feel that when they are doing this attunement process on themselves, maybe their minds are constantly getting distracted or diverted. And that is normal. When you first start meditating, you will see that your mind is so chaotic. It is always all over the place. It is hard to calm it down. It is hard to focus it initially. But with practice, it becomes easier and easier to focus your thoughts, to ground and center yourself. And so a person who has never meditated before, now they are sitting and grounding and centering themselves and self-attuning themselves. It is going to be more challenging for them until unless naturally, there are some people who are naturally very centered and grounded. And for them, it might not be that hard. So you have to be honest to yourself and be your own best judge as to whether you think that if you invest into a Reiki program where the attunement is done by you on yourself, if you feel that you are ready for that, and if you don't have any self-doubt, and if you feel that you have been doing meditation practices before, or you are just very grounded and centered in general, and it will be easy for you to maintain your focus and just stay grounded and centered during the process, then definitely go for it. Because the energy is not prejudiced. As long as you are in that open, receptive state, that is all that is needed. So if you think that you can be in that open, receptive state and you can receive the energy by yourself from the universe, go for it for sure. The universe is not biased or prejudiced, but the biases and the prejudices comes from the human mind when we start doubting ourselves, thinking that I don't have much experience, I have never done this before, what if I'm doing this wrong? Maybe I should actually get it from a Reiki master. Because when you start doubting yourself, then your self-doubt is what could make the attunement less effective. So I hope this video made sense. I would love to hear from you, your thoughts about Reiki self-attunements. If you have any experience of doing a Reiki self-attunement for yourself, then I would love to hear from you how your experience was. So leave your comment below, and if you haven't already, then subscribe to my channel. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.